there's as many different ways to approach strategic thinking as there are people. But for me, what works is widening the sources of information that I seek. So reading things that may not seem particularly relevant to my file, but help me to have a broader view of what's happening in the world so that I can interpret things better. So sort of a look up and look around kind of idea.
Strategic thinking is about taking into account all those elements in the broader environment that might impact your strategy and that you need to take into account to remain agile and adaptable to a changing environment. So I think it is very useful for our line of work, humanitarian action, which always happens in conflict and changing environments by definition, I would say.
So when it comes to strategic thinking, I think we need to focus first and foremost on the difference we want to make. I think if we have a clear objective in mind and we think about it in terms of difference we want to make in the real world, there is very little which can stop us in achieving a strategy.
When we're talking about strategic, what we're thinking of is what is the result that we want to achieve? Where is it that we're going? What is the broad direction? It doesn't have to be something set in stone. It doesn't have to be very detailed. And then we build it backwards. So knowing that we want to go in that direction, we try and understand what are all the parameters at play. And I think what's absolutely essential there is to be able to function at multi-levels, multi-stakeholders, multi-layers to really understand all the parameters. Then we can start actually planning.
Another big trend that we see is actually two, which is highly individualized responses where people are better able to advocate for what they need, and we recognize all the elements of a person that need to be responded to, so a deeper analysis. And then the compounding vulnerabilities of these big mega trends that are hitting people one after the other, climate change and displacement and connectivity and what that means for their protection of themselves and their family. And I think that means that we need to adjust to much more individualized responses and responding to all of the facets of the vulnerability of a particular person.
What will be very important in the future is to keep this granularity that the ICRC has, to know exactly what is happening in the field, to try to translate this into something which could be political also, not only acting and changing the way we work, but really coming up with policies and elements that allow the whole ICRC itself, but also why not the whole humanitarian sector to change or to act on certain elements.
In the years ahead, there will be many changes, that's for sure. But this is not new for the ICRC. The ICRC has had constantly to adapt. And it's good I'm sitting in front of the collection of the International Review of the Red Cross. It's been 150 years of reflection, finding new solutions to new problems as they came. And at the very beginning, the founders of the Red Cross were trying to solve a big problem that they had in front of them. How to bring medical relief to the wounded on the battlefield, and how to bring the hospital and medical care to the battlefield. So these were illustrated in the early copies of the review, where you have these designs of ambulances, stretchers, which show how they were creative. So we need the same creativity today. But we've learned since those times. And I think we have captured our professionalism and experience in our principles, the principles which guide humanitarian action.
The movement and cooperation is definitely a strategic asset on which we have to build. The movement, national societies represent a strength that connect us to the field, that make us localized in a context where there are calls for strengthening the role of local and national actors in humanitarian action. And so we have to be strategic with the movement. It can be affected by those global trends, but above all, it is a strength that we have to nurture in today and tomorrow's world.